Hey y'all, welcome back to Twin Oaks Farm Poultry. We're so grateful that you're here. It's day 8 of raising our 304 Cornish rock cross meat chickens to be processed into homegrown poultry here in about 5 weeks now. We raise them out to 6 weeks old. So basically we aim for having our processing appointment on day 42 or day 43. So I actually think this flock, I don't think it's right on 42 days, but I'll have to look at the dates again. We set all those dates for processing and chick hatching way back at the beginning of the year. So by January 5th of this calendar year, we had all of our processing dates set and then set our chick hatching dates based off of that. So I always have to be looking back at the calendar to remind me what schedule we're on. But we are going to look at the flock, going to talk about what the temperature is doing around them and what's going on in the brooder relative to that. We're also going to look at the production board because we've documented a couple of new things and just some general comments on their progress. And you're going to get to see we've just set some feeders in. They've come off of the long overnight break and they had used all their water and used just about all their feed, and we've added some feed in, and after I record I'm going to finish setting their feed in, but you're going to get to see their reaction to getting the feed set in there too. So let's go ahead and take a look at the brooder first, and then we'll look at the board and talk a little bit more. So a couple things I want to show you. We can look at the feeders first here. I've actually just set these 3 feeders down into this quad of the brooder here just right before I pressed record. So you can see they were hungry, and as many birds, basically as many birds as could fit around these feeders went right to them. And so that's basically how they line up and eat. And a good thing about what you're seeing here, if you can tell, the birds are standing up to eat. And this is something I haven't commented on yet. And we've got the standing up here and the standing up here. As the birds grow taller and the feeder is lower relative to them, they'll start to sit down. See, I have a couple there that did. They'll start to sit down when they eat and when they drink. There's one at the water and standing up, so that's good. We want them to stand up when they're eating and drinking because it helps get them up on their legs, and that helps strengthen their legs because they're bearing their own weight. And if they keep bearing their own weight as they get slightly heavier, then when they're older and they're quite a bit heavier than they are now, there's a better chance that we will have kept their legs strengthened as they've grown. So we really always want them standing up when they're eating and drinking. And that's really the reason we put the wood pieces underneath there. You could use any material, anything at all, really. We just use scrap lumber, but that raises the level of that feeder and the level of the water and helps us keep those birds standing up. And that's kind of a form of exercise for them. So aim for the reference point of having the trays of your feeders and waters at about the height of your bird's back. And if the birds get a little taller than the trays, that's okay, as long as they're still standing up to eat and drink. But if you see the birds start getting lazy and they want to sit down to eat and drink, and they will, then it's a good time to add a little bit more of a riser underneath those feeders and waters. And that's what we'll do. We'll just put a second riser underneath there. So now I wanted to show you also under the heat lamps right now. So our other videos, day 1 through 7, have for the most part been later in the day when it's been warmer. And so today actually is a day that's going to stay a little cooler in Southeast Ohio, late August. We're not expecting the temperature to go above 79 or 80 this afternoon, and I think we're only at about 65 right now. So I wanted to show you, see how the birds are using that heat lamp. Rather than having like that organized circle around the outer edge of the heated beam of light, they're right under it. And not only are they right under it, you can even see some are like standing and leaning into the others and pushing and running over them like the one just did there. They're kind of jockeying for position. We're really seeing that here. So they will settle down. You know, they'll get warm, they'll settle down, they'll lay down in an even layer, but that's indicating to a flock manager these birds are feeling a little cooler than they want to feel, and they're trying to warm up. Their body heat will help as well, but like I said, outside temperature right now is about 65. And remember, our reference point at a week-old bird is they probably want to be between 85 to 90 degrees, probably closer to 90 degrees. This is also a red light bulb, red lamp bulb. I don't know why the beam looks a different color. So it must be a slightly different red. But anyway, we go ahead and use it. But you can see there, those birds are spreading out a little more. So that heat lamp may be adjusted a little lower too, and maybe putting more heat down there on the floor. But they will get adjusted. Another thing going on is these birds are a little anxious because they're hungry. So what went on with that is that last night, late, this is funny, and they've already stopped, but this is about the age, a week old. These birds will start posturing at each other, like two will run toward each other, and it'll look like they're going to chicken fight, really. And they don't then. They just like cease and desist immediately. It's kind of interesting, but when they get kind of ramped up, you're going to see that. But wanted to say, so last night we topped off feeders and waters late. Let's put a feeder in. And this morning, when I came back out here at 6, they had pretty much eaten all of the food. Maybe about 4 of the feeder trays had food left in them. So we pulled up all the empty ones. But they had also drank pretty much all their water. All the water still had a little bit in the trays, but they were pretty well empty. So at 6 this morning, I filled the 8 one-gallon waters. And I did not replenish feed right then because we've said before, we want to keep them hydrated, and we want them hydrated prior to consuming their fill of food. So I filled the waters and decided to wait about 3 hours before I filled their feeders. And so then so at that time, I pulled feeders out and actually filled them then out here on the outside of the brooder. And now I am putting them in because it's been about 3 hours since I filled their water. And see, they're going to go to the food. There's some over there. So as there's activity around the pen, and as I'm talking, and you can see some of them might take like a startle response, a mild startle response, and that's okay, because that gets everybody up and moving. I'm going to flip this riser over onto a little higher bedding, like that. So I'm going to double check that bird too here in a moment, because generally they should get up. Okay, so this bird is probably fine, but like I'm going to be watching for that. If one is slow getting up when I'm working around it, I question that. I question that on that bird. Is that bird feeling okay? Same with this. We're going to move this over. These birds got new bedding last night. Okay, so some of them will get up and start to eat. They're really on those feeders over there. Let's take a look at the production board. Oh, here we go. See, we just put these in while y'all were watching. And look how they filled in there. We are going to run out of recording time. I know I told y'all also in day 7's video that we don't weigh them because of a couple different reasons, but we think it's cool if you do weigh them, and we love to hear your feedback on what your birds weigh. And it's very interesting and good management to weigh them and document that. So just wanted to show you, we did add a bag of shavings yesterday. We also opened a new bag of feed. And so far the frequency is about every 3 days, but that's going to increase.